Welcome back to the VET S.O.S show, brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline. Mark, I am excited. We have a great guest with us today, Dr. Moriah Thomas. She is here to drop some serious knowledge on us. I can't wait to get into this. How you doing today, partner?
Hey, I'm doing great. I know you guys are dealing with some storms out there, so hope you're staying safe, both of you, actually. But yes, viewer audience, get ready because we got some great information coming to you. And also be sure to tag others, tag, like, and share, right? Pay it forward to your network. This is great information, and you too can make a difference in your community. So thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. And thank you for all of you who have been pairing your channels with us and broadcasting this out as original content over your social media. It's easy to do. If you don't know how to, shoot us a message, #pairing, and we will tell you how to do it so you too can send it out as original content. And Mark, big news. We just passed 1,100 followers on LinkedIn. So the podcast is gaining some speed. We got some people checking us out on a weekly basis, which is outstanding. Hopefully helping a lot of these service members with the transition process. So without further ado, we need to get right into it. We got Dr. Moriah Thomas. She's a Marine Corps veteran with a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology who specializes in aiding veterans in navigating the psychological impact of the military to civilian transition, what the transition does to the mind. Through her own service and observations, Dr. Thomas realized the need for more to help the transitioning service member. Dr. Thomas created the Alpha Arc program to bridge that gap. The Alpha Arc program is a one-of-a-kind system that Dr. Thomas strategically designed for veterans who feel alone, angry, lost, depressed, or anxious about leaving the military. Dr. Thomas, so great to have you with us today. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's the Marine Corps birthday, so it's a good day.
We're really going to confuse some people because this is going to air a month from now. So. What storm? It's sunny out.
Yeah,
hey, it's 11:10 here. Yep, yeah, November 10th. So,
but that's a great point. Happy birthday to you, and happy birthday to our Marines around the world. Big day for them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Thomas, let's jump right into it here. What made you get into the veteran support space? What made you want to help veterans with this transition process?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I kind of fall into everything I'm doing, and like from being a Marine myself, and then having to watch my husband go through this transition, and then all of the education basically I've just collected had to be like building towards something. So I feel like all of those things have led to me, like, this is my purpose.
No, that's outstanding. And you have the insight that a lot of veteran support organization people have in the sense that you're a veteran, but then you're also seeing it from the military spouse perspective, which is huge as well. You know, my wife and I talk often about, you know, what she's going through at the same time of what I'm going through. And, you know, there are definitely some similarities, but some potential differences there. So you spent some time in the Marine Corps, and you said your husband's a Marine as well?
Yes, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. I was a supply admin. I deployed to time. My husband is a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel. He spent 29 years in the Marine Corps with 4 combat tours. And so he really struggled when he got out.
Yeah, no doubt.
What was his maybe one of his biggest struggles or challenges?
Well, he's still struggling. I think because he was in charge, you know, and I think the loss of purpose, right? We were the self-sacrifice of committing yourself that is greater than you, that is greater than yourself, and even really greater than the team. You know, everybody's working towards the same goal. I think that is the biggest loss. Also, like the loss of belonging, that is huge.
Yeah, it's kind of like analogous to, and I've heard this because my office is right next to the Dallas Cowboys training center, the center in Frisco. But I have heard, I've gone to a couple of the events over there where they've talked about career transition from professional sports players, right? Too, and that team, that belonging, that sense of camaraderie when they lose that, right? And that's why they have the NFL Association or Alumni Association. But yeah, I mean, it's true definitely for the military. I mean, you had listed, let me see, alone, angry, lost, depressed, and anxious. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, so we're dealing with their big emotions right now, and we have a cool down corner is what they use at school. But it's kind of like, it reminds me of that because it's like they have colors, right? So like, how are you today? What color are you right now? And it goes along with a lot of those. Out of those, and I know that they all kind of bleed into each other, but what are you seeing in the transition space out of those maybe 5 or so items? What's the biggest, most prevalent one? Is it people are just, they're more angry than anything, more depressed than anything? Like which, if any, are the most prevalent?
Well, I think confusion, and all of the primary emotions, some of those that are primary emotions, right? They're the ones that feel vulnerable, right? So hurt, guilt, confusion, things like that. All of those get covered up with anger. So anger is the secondary emotion, and it makes us feel powerful instead of vulnerable. And so we use that. And so that's where a lot of people are. But really, I think the biggest primary emotion is confusion, right? Like there's a lot of organizations helping veterans get jobs. And then there's separate organizations that are like, we'll help you with your mental health. And I see both sides, especially with the IO psychology, so like workplace psychology. I'm trying to bridge that gap because it's a workplace. It's also like, it's really more than that, right? It's a culture. It's a whole culture. And if you're a Marine, it's a cult, right? So
Got bomb on that.
Should have dropped the crayon.
Yeah, right. I had my crayon cake today. It's confusion. I think people don't understand where the negative emotions are coming from, and that's what I try to address in my program. Like, here's the root cause of the confusion, and then when there's no more confusion, it creates awareness, and awareness is everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. How much of that though is tied to not just the transition? So like a lot of people struggle with PTSD and other issues through their service time. So how much does the transition, in your opinion, compound that?
Oof, a lot.
Good
So
question.
if you leave with PTSD, which absolutely my husband did, you have the trauma, you're carrying it around and it gets triggered all the time. And then you deal with the loss of belonging, the loss of stability and security, all of these things. I also talk about in my program how not only do you lose these things, but you try to join a civilian organization so you can belong again. And then you get kind of smacked in the face because they don't get you. You don't really belong. And it stunts your growth of a new social identity. So you would join a new organization and you would form a new social identity. And when that happens, when civilians don't understand you, it prevents you from forming a new one. You try to hold on, causes problems in a civilian organization. So it's both sides.
That makes sense. Mark's doing his disappearing act again. He likes to jump in and out of conversations. See, there he goes again. Murphy likes to mess with him over there. That's great. All right. So Obviously, you have a lot of skin in the game, as they say, because you were a veteran, first of all, so you experienced it firsthand doing the transition. Two, you watched your husband do it as well. So definitely have some skin in the game, and that's makes it more personal. So, at what point did you decide you wanted to get a PhD? Like, what made you want to pursue that avenue and get that much into trying to help people?
Yeah, so the completely honest answer, mental health counseling in Louisiana for about 3 years, and I just had some really rough. I care about my clients, and so I was not. They call it counselor burnout. I think it was more than that because I was just like, well, time to find a new career, But I'm a psychology nerd, so I was like, well, I'll just go get a master's degree in, something else. And the guy on the phone was like, no, you need to get a PhD. And I was like, whatever, So I kind of fell into it, like he's like, don't get another master's degree, get a PhD. That took me 5 years to get, and that was no joke. And then I was like, what am I going to do with my PhD? I don't really want to be a business consultant, which what it sets you up for, and then you didn't ask this, but how I got in, like my programs that I found the Veterans Entrepreneurship Initiative. They do free business classes for veterans. I went with the idea, okay, I'll be a business consultant, and then immediately in the first class, the first hour, I was like, nope, I'm going to write this program.
So, I'm holding out for the honorary doctorate from a college. I'm going to wait for that to be bestowed upon me. I don't know that I'm going to pursue one. But great segue, because the next question was exactly that. You got the Alpha Coaching and Consulting LLC, but you spell it with a hyphen in the middle of it or at the beginning of it. So first, tell us the history behind the name, why you chose what you did, why you picked that. And then second, tell us about it. And tell us what you're doing.
Okay, so there's a hyphen because in the state of Florida, somebody already had Alpha Coaching, they already had Alpha Consulting. And so I was like, if I tried the Alpha, it kept knocking off the. They don't care about the. They're like, that doesn't count. So if I put the hyphen in, it kept it in there. But the Alpha is, I needed a symbol that was like, you're the Alpha while you're in the military. Everybody's like, oh, I'm the, so then you get out and you don't feel like that. And I needed something that was, that strong military men mostly would not shy away from. And I'm a Leo, so I just love lions. So it was just like kind of all fit together. But I really do 3 things with my organization. It started so I could house my military to civilian transition program. I needed a way to, advertise it, or eventually, hopefully, the DoD or somebody will get a hold of this and like make it accessible to everybody. That's my goal. I just want every veteran to have access to this information. And the other 2 things I do, I'm a board certified coach. So I haven't started actually that certificate. And so I will be doing coaching, leadership, and other types of coaching. And then I'm also a restarted mental health counseling, but in the state of Florida. So I'm a mental health counselor in the state of Florida.
Well, that's good. I'll be in Florida soon, so I can just come visit and get some counseling.
Absolutely. I do EMDR, which is a huge proponent of.
Every time I come down to visit my brother at Christmas, I got to go to counseling.
So sorry.
So the Alpha Arch, that's the name of the specific program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep. The Alpha ARC program is, I'm trying to bridge the gap, right? So the ARC really represents the bridge between what exists out there currently and where the gap is. I see this as a gap because I am all about finding the root cause, because if you can understand the root cause, awareness gives you options. Without awareness, you're just in the midst of the negative emotions. So right now it is set up for one-on-one 6 sessions. I cover topics in the key topics in the sessions, but I'm also asking self-reflective questions, because there's a part of where you experience something and it doesn't really mean anything until you reflect on the experience. So it's very important that you reflect on it, the information that I'm giving, and then that transition, because some things bother some veterans more than others. So maybe you don't feel like you lost a bunch of your identity, or maybe you feel like you lost your whole thing, right? So it needs to be tailored to each veteran. So right now it's one-on-one, but I'm working on scaling it using technology. So I'm building it on my website right now, and hopefully veterans can just go through it at a self-paced and then get my help when it's needed.
So it's not a mass punishment type program like the military. You actually focus one-on-one, which is fantastic, because everybody's different. Everybody is different point in the transition, going through different things. That's powerful. I like that.
What are some of the things that, and not to give all your trade secrets away, right? But in your methodologies, but what are some of the, what's the right word, exercises, right, that you might prescribe to somebody who, can do on their own as maybe follow up things outside of your sessions?
Yeah, that's a good question, because one of the other pieces of my program is accountability. And so without accountability, there's you're not going to do it.
Right.
So there is homework before, and I will ask you if you did your homework. Really, one of the pieces of homework is surrounding emotions, because as veterans, we're told, and for good reason, I understand, because the mission has to come first, that, you are told consciously or by your emotions, right? Shove them down. It's not the time for that. So really, people have to reframe that and understand their emotions. And I try to do that from a scientific standpoint, so it's not, it's not mushy. So when someone's feeling confused about why they feel depressed, right? Everybody goes through a honeymoon phase. They're like, oh, this is going to be great. I don't have to PT at 5 a.m. I don't have to stand Saturday duty. This is going to be awesome. And then about 6 months later, you're like, what the F is wrong with me? I feel awful. I feel lost. I feel confused. And then you start, self-medicating, or, feeling the anger and using the anger. So the homework is, when you feel confused and anger turns on, it's fight or flight, right? We know about fight or flight. Well, the second piece of that is, if you label the emotion you're feeling, that it shorts out fight or flight, and your rational brain can get turned back on. So the prefrontal cortex is your adult brain, your rational brain. And if you short out fight or flight, the chemicals recede from that, and you can think clearly again. And so that's a piece of the homework. So you need to identify, even if you only do it for yourself, right? You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to put it on Facebook. If you say, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling guilty, I feel hurt, I feel sad, that shorts out the fight or flight. So that is a piece of the homework.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, I love that, because look, it's like, how you're feeling is very unique, and nobody can tell you how you're feeling, right? So very individualized. Yeah, thank you.
I think that's breaking a cultural norm, though, if you're not allowed to put it on, or you don't have to put it on Facebook. That's almost illegal now.
That's not my culture.
So it sounds like a wonderful program, and I love the fact that it's tailored. We all go through everything, and through the course of the podcast, we've talked to several guests that always talk about how the transition is really individualized to you. You figure out what works for you, because there's so many resources out there, and I love you're taking this approach to really focus on them and help them there. Have you looked at or tried to talk to any of the organizations out there that maybe your program could really be a benefit to maybe something like a Wounded Warrior Project or something like that, where there could be a collaboration?
I have received that piece of advice multiple times. I think what I was waiting for really was, how was I going to scale this, right? Because it's reminding me I'm only one person. And while I would see every veteran that would just like take up every second I have, I can't do that. And so I really was waiting to see how I could scale it. And I think I found a viable way for now, until I find and can pay for an app developer to make it like more accessible. I won't charge veterans for the program. I refuse.
That's great. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of tie-in there once you figure out how to scale it. Especially with like Wounded Warrior Project, they have their whole network of people that could definitely use it and grow and be helped by it, which would be just amazing.
Yeah, one of those. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
One of the super important things about it is that, like, even though I do believe understanding the root causes will help tremendously, even if it's not enough for you, you leave the program having the language to explain to someone what is bothering you. So you can still take advantage of the other organizations, right? Like, you can still go see the VA for mental health, or one of the organizations for mental health. You can show up knowing what you need to talk about. That is super important for me.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I was going to say that you know, a lot of people like go through these programs, and it's kind of like a seminar, right? You go through a seminar and you get these just like eye-opening like light bulb moments, and then a day, 2-3 days goes by, right? 72 hours, the 72-hour rule. If you haven't taken action within 72 hours, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
Do you find that some of the folks that you're helping with, are they, able to just kind of go at their own pace? Do they have to just jump right in and start the adoption process immediately? Like, how do you help people there? How do you work with people on that side of the spectrum?
Don't enjoy seminars for exactly the reason you stated, right? They don't work. You leave feeling awesome and then you do nothing with it. Yeah, so that is why the self-reflexive questions that I ask, how does this apply to you, basically? What I've told you, what are you going to do with it? And then I also include strategies for like mission forward results, right? Like, we're all about the mission. So that's the other piece, is the accountability piece, right? Like, you will do your homework because I'm going to ask you about your homework. If you haven't done it, like, you're going to feel bad. So I'm actually not sure how long it takes. So the couple of people that've been through the program, they've been out for a while. And so while they've given me extremely positive feedback, like if I had this 5 years ago when I got out, it would have, I haven't gotten anybody yet who's within like a short amount of time of getting out. So I do need to test that on them, essentially.
You need a test dummy.
What is I guess, what's the process to get started? Can you kind of walk us through that? Like, if let's say I'm like, hey, the Alpha Heart coaching sounds great, like I want to do that, like, can you walk us through that process, like what somebody goes through to get onboarded?
Absolutely. So if they just go to my website and submit the contact form under age and reach out to me, I will set them up with appointments.
Okay, so it starts with an appointment, scheduling a time to visit with you. Okay.
Yes. I got counseling clients in between that.
Yeah. And then there's probably like an assessment that you do, right? And kind of gauge where somebody is at and what stage they're in.
Yes, I do like a getting to know you kind of thing. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
So after they run the course, if you will, what happens if they need a tune-up or a follow-up? And I ask you that from the standpoint of someone who has had anger issues and has gone to anger management. Every once in a while, I need a tune-up.
That's good.
So, like,
That's good.
someone goes through that, and all of a sudden feelings start coming back, whatever. So, can they reach back out to you? Is there something in place?
Now, no, there's nothing in place. Not enough. I haven't had enough demand for that, I suppose you could say. However, I have no problem meeting back up with them, to see where they're at or where they're stuck or how I can help them move forward, for sure.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. It sounds like an amazing program and one that really could help a bunch of people. Since you are a one-person show, I mean, can you give us a ballpark? Like, how many people have you run through the program?
I haven't been advertising because I'm one person, right? So like I know I almost put it out on LinkedIn, like take my program, but really it's only been about 4 or 5 people. And I've gotten super, super great feedback, but I need to scale it. That just has to happen. So I've been avoiding marketing a robust scale because there's only so much I can do right now. So like I'm building on my website right now, and it's going to be self-paced. It should be almost the same if we were doing it together, right? I'm still going to be like talking to them as if we were talking. Hopefully after that is built on the website, I will advertise more.
So once you figure that piece out, by all means, let us know. It's something that we can definitely be helping you push it out to our audience and getting the word out. And one of the things that we're trying to do is, as we work on our site as well, is something like a partnering type thing. Guests that we have on who have their own thing have a link straight to it, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So definitely something we could definitely help you with, and make sure that we get the vets the help they need. I mean, that's really the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Are you working in like a specific region? I know you're in, I think, Florida, right? And so, but I mean, look, this new period we're in, right, has taken everybody really national, I think. So has that been your experience?
Yes, as far as the coaching and like the Alpha Arc program, those are anywhere. The counseling is Florida based, but that's because of the licensure restrictions. But the coaching I can do anywhere, and the program can be done anywhere.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Even international, right? People that
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
in practice.
So there is definitely a big push. The veteran support organizations are trying to really crack that nut when it comes to the Pacific and Europe to help those guys as well as they transition. So we're coming down to time, Dr. Thomas. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with?
If you feel like you're struggling with your transition in any way, shape, or form, just reach out to me and I will find a way to help you. That is, even if I'm not the one who will end up helping you, I have a whole network of referrals, that you can get the help that you need.
I don't know about you, Mark, but sounds familiar. Sounds like she's throwing out a lifeline for people.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Sounds like a little who you know is involved.
Yeah.
So, thank you,
Mark,
Dr.
you got any final comments?
No, I just think that's great what you're doing. I mean, I really, given my kind of family perspective, I really find it very interesting because, we have very seasoned adult, maybe even late stage in their lives or careers, going through some of these same things that my toddlers are, right? And it's just something that is so essential that we're getting this help out there, your kind of help, self-awareness, right? Self-reflecting, and just being able to train people to do that, because we don't get training on that. And even me as a parent, I'm like, man, seeing what the school is doing and hearing what you're doing and things like that just tell me that, look, our society is just so severely lacking in that arena that it's a pandemic of its own.
Sure is. Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't know too many people who don't hate their emotions.
Right.
All right, Dr. Thomas,
Dr.
thank
Thomas.
you so much for what you're doing for our community. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. Great information. I highly encourage people to reach out to you. Check out this Alpha Arc program. See if it's right for you. See if it'll help you make that transition a little bit more smoothly. We want to thank everybody for tuning in as always. And remember, don't drown the sea of transition, but grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. Hello, welcome back to the VET S.O.S